Hare Krishna. Welcome back, everyone, out in Cyberland to the live studios here at Radha Lane in ISKCON of Houston, next to Sri Sri Radha Nilamadhava Mandir, beautiful deities and temple. I'm thinking, and I've been thinking all afternoon, how wonderful it is that we've taken up this is a sacrifice, make a vow to hear every day from Srila Prabhupada's books. And I made a vow, a serious one. You can read about it in my offering to Srila Prabhupada this year, later on this year, into Vyasa Puja. And I'll read it out then. But I made a serious vow to do this for the rest of my life, every single day, no matter what. Of course, maybe Janmashtami, there was some festival, there'll be some break, but in general. And I'm realizing myself how significant it is and how important it is to actually make a vow to do something every day for Krishna, especially to hear about Krishna and to develop a taste for hearing about Krishna. So I'd like to thank all of you who come here every day and all of my favorite devotees from Houston who inspired me to do this. And all of you out in cyberspace, we hope you stick it out to the end, the last breath. And may this sacrifice of doing this every day help you get strength, spiritual, mental, and intellectual strength to think of Krishna when it's time to leave the body. Okay, enough of that. We're moving on with the second chapter of the Bhagavad-gita. Contents of the whole book summarized. But first, let us offer the prayers that Srila Prabhupada offered before he wrote this classic literature. He commented, Om Jnana Timidan Dasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Jina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Sapadantikam. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with a torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who was established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? Vandeham Shri Guru, Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun, Vaishnavangscha, Shri Rupam Sagrajatam, Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam, Sadvetam Savadutam, Parijana Sahitam, Krishna Chaitanya Devam, Shri Radha Krishna Padan, Sahagana Lalita, Shri Vishakhanvitangscha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master and unto the feet of all Vaishnavas. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami, along with his elder brother, Sanatana Goswami, as well as Raghunath Dasa and Raghunath Bhatta, Gopal Bhatta, and Srila Jiva Goswami. I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, along with Advaita Acharya, Gadadhara, Srivasa, and other associates. I offer my respectful obeisances to Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna, along with their associates, Sri Lalita and Vishaka. Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindho, Dinabandho Jagatpate, Gopisha Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta Namostute. O my dear Krishna, ocean of mercy, you are the friend of the distressed and the source of creation. You are the master of the cowherd men and the lover of the gopis, especially Srimati Radharani. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, Vrishabhanu Sute Devi, Pranamami Hari Priye. I offer my respects to Radharani, whose bodily complexion is like molten gold, and who is the queen of Vrindavan. You are the daughter of King Vrishabhanu, and you are very dear to Lord Krsna. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanibhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desired trees, and they are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. I offer my obeisances to Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasa and all others in the line of devotion. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, Bhagavad-gita, the foundation, the cornerstone of Srila Prabhupada's movement in all of our spiritual lives, the basic principles of spiritual life. The deeper we know and remember, realize these principles, take them into our character, the higher we can build our house of bhakti, our house of devotional service. So now we've heard Krishna kind of mildly chastise Arjuna for lamenting over something that is not worthy of lamentation, and then explaining to him how the soul never dies, and giving details of the soul's qualities, characteristics. And after this philosophical analysis of the difference between matter and spirit, between the soul and the body, now he's launching into other reasons why he should do his duty and fight the battle of Kurukshetra. Chapter 2, text 31. Swadharmam apichaviksha navikam pitamadasi dharmyadi yudat chayonyat chatriyasya navidyate. Considering your specific duty as a Kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles, and so there is no need for hesitation. Purport. Out of the 4 orders of social administration, the second order for the matter of good administration is called Kshatriya. Chat means hurt. One who gives protection from harm is called Kshatriya. Trayate, to give protection. The Kshatriyas are trained for killing in the forest. A Kshatriya would go into the forest and challenge a tiger face to face and fight with the tiger with his sword. When the tiger was killed, it would be offered the royal order of cremation. This system has been followed even up to the present day by the Kshatriya kings of Jaipur state. The Kshatriyas are specially trained for challenging and killing because religious violence is sometimes a necessary factor. Therefore, Kshatriyas are never meant for accepting directly the order of sannyas or renunciation. Non-violence in politics may be a diplomacy, but it is never a factor or principle. In the religious law books it is stated, Ahavesha miton yonyam jighang santo mahikchataha yudamanat padam shaktya swargam yantya padan mukhaha yagyeshu pashavo brahman hanyate satatam dvijahi sanskrita kilamantraischa tepi swargam apapnuvan. In the battlefield, a king or Kshatriya, while fighting another king envious of him, is eligible for for achieving the heavenly planets after death, as the Brahmanas also attain the heavenly planets by sacrificing animals in the sacrificial fire. Therefore, killing on the battlefield on religious principles and killing animals in the sacrificial fire are not at all considered to be acts of violence, because everyone is benefited by the religious principles involved. The animal sacrifice gets a human life immediately without undergoing the gradual evolutionary process from one form to another, and the Kshatriyas killed in the battlefield also attain the heavenly planets, as do the Brahmanas, who attain them by offering sacrifice. There are two kinds of swadharmas, specific duties. As long as one is not liberated, one has to perform the duties of his particular body in accordance with religious principles in order to achieve liberation. When one is liberated, one's swadharma, specific duty, becomes spiritual and is not in the material bodily concept. In the bodily conception of life, there are specific duties for the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas respectively, and these duties are unavoidable. Such swadharma is ordained by the Lord, and this will be clarified in the 4th chapter. On the bodily plane, swadharma is called varnashrama dharma, or man's stepping stone for spiritual understanding. Human civilization begins from the stage of varnashrama dharma, or specific duties, in terms of the specific modes of nature of the body obtained. Discharging one's specific duty in any field of action is in accordance with the orders of higher authorities, serves to elevate one to a higher status of life. Text 32. Yadrich jaya chopabanam swargadvadam apavritam sukhinak chatriyak partha labhante yudamidvisham. O Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of the heavenly planets. Purport. As Supreme Teacher of the world, Lord Krsna condemns the attitude of Arjuna, who said, "I do not find any good in this fighting. It will cause perpetual habitation in hell." Such statements by Arjuna were due to ignorance only. He wanted to become non-violent in the discharge of his specific duty. For a Kshatriya to be on the battlefield and to become non-violent is the philosophy of fools. In the Parashara Smriti, or religious codes made by Parashara, the great sage and father of Vyasadeva, it is stated, "Kshatriyo hi prajarakshan shastrapanik pradhandayan nirjitya parasainyadi chitim dharmina palayat." The Kshatriya's duty is to protect the citizens from all kinds of difficulties, and for that reason he has to apply violence in suitable cases for law and order. Therefore he has to conquer the soldiers of inimical kings, and thus, with religious principles, he should rule over the world. Considering all aspects, Arjuna had no reason to refrain from fighting. It will cause perpetual habitation. Considering all aspects, Arjuna had no reason to refrain from fighting. If he should conquer his enemies, he would enjoy the kingdom, and if he should die in the battle, he would be elevated to the heavenly planets, whose doors were wide open to him. Fighting would be for his benefit in either case. Text 33. Atat chet tvam midam dharmyam sangramam na karishyasi tatak sadharmam kirtim cha hitma papam avapsyasi. If, however, you do not perform this religious duty of fighting, then you will certainly incur sins for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter. Purport. Arjuna was a famous fighter, and he attained fame by fighting many great demigods including even Lord Shiva. After fighting and defeating Lord Shiva in the dress of a hunter, Arjuna pleased the Lord and received as a reward a weapon called Pashupata Astra. Everyone knew that he was a great warrior. Even Dronacharya gave him benedictions and awarded him the special weapon by which he could kill even his teacher. So he was credited with so many military certificates from many authorities, including his adopted father Indra, the heavenly king. But if he abandoned the battle, not only would he neglect his specific duty as a Kshatriya, but he would lose all his fame and good name, and thus prepare his royal road to hell. In other words, he would go to hell not by fighting, but by withdrawing from battle. Text 34. Akirtim chapibhutani katayeshanti te vyayam sambhavitasya chakirtir manarad atarichate. People will always speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. Purport. Both as friend and philosopher to Arjuna, Lord Krsna now gives his final judgment regarding Arjuna's refusal to fight. The Lord says, Arjuna, if you leave the battlefield before the battle even begins, people will call you a coward. And if you think that people may call you bad names, but that you will save your life by fleeing the battlefield, then my advice is that you do better to die in the battle. For a respectable man like you, ill fame is worse than death. So you should not flee for fear of your life. Better to die in the battle. That will save you from the ill fame of misusing my friendship and from losing your prestige in society. So the final judgment of the Lord was for Arjuna to die in the battle and not withdraw. Of course, we know that he had already arranged that Arjuna wasn't going to die in the battle, but this is just for sake of argument. He's appealing now to Arjuna's pride as a Kshatriya. Before he was appealing to philosophy, now he's appealing to his pride, his Kshatriya pride. Text 35. Bayad renat uparatang Mangshante tvam maharataha yesham chatvam bahumato bhutva yasasilagavam. The great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you insignificant. Purport. Lord Krsna continued to give his verdict to Arjuna. Do not think that the great generals like Duryodhana, Karna, and other contemporaries will think that you have left the battlefield out of compassion for your brothers and grandfather. They will think that you have left out of fear for your life, and thus their high estimation of your personality will go to hell. 36. Avhatyavadang chabahun vidishyanti tavahitaha nindantas samartyam tato dukadaram nukim. Your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful for you? Purport. Lord Krsna was astonished in the beginning at Arjuna's uncalled for plea for compassion, and he described his compassion as befitting the non-Aryans. Now in so many words, he has proved his statements against Arjuna's so-called compassion. Text 37. Hato va prapshasi swargam jitva va bokshase mahim tasmat utishta konteya yudhaya kritanishchayaha. O son of Kunti, either you will be killed in the battlefield or attain the heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore, get up with determination and fight. Purport. Even though there was no certainty of victory for Arjuna's side, he still had to fight. For even being killed there, he could be elevated into the heavenly planets. Text 38. Sukaduke same kritva Labha labhao jaya jayo tato yudhaya yujaswa naivam papam avapshasi. Do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by so doing you shall never incur sin. Purport. Lord Krishna now directly says that Arjuna should fight for the sake of fighting, because he desires the battle. There is no consideration of happiness or distress, profit or loss, victory or defeat in the activities of Krishna consciousness. That everything should be performed for the sake of Krishna is transcendental consciousness. So there is no reaction to material activities. He who acts for his own sense gratification, either in goodness or in passion, is subject to the reaction, good or bad. But he who has completely surrendered himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness is no longer obliged to anyone, nor is he a debtor to anyone, as one is in the ordinary course of activities. It is said, Devarshi putapta nrinam pratina naking kodo nayam rinina rajan sarvatmana yak sharanam sharanyam gato mukundam parihritya kartam. Anyone who is completely surrendered unto Krishna, Mukunda, giving up all other duties, is no longer a debtor, nor is he obliged to anyone, not the demigods, nor the sages, nor the people in general, nor kinsmen, nor humanity, nor forefathers. This is the indirect hint given by Krishna to Arjuna in this verse, and the matter will be more clearly explained in the following verses. Text 39. Isha te bihita sankhye buddhir yoge tvimam shinu buddhya yukto yaya partha karmabandham prahasyasi. Thus far I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study. Now listen as I explain it in terms of working without fruitive results. O son of Pritha, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage of works. Purport. According to the Nirukti, or the Vedic dictionary, Sankhya means that which describes things in detail, and Sankhya refers to that philosophy which describes the real nature of the soul. And yoga involves controlling the senses. Arjuna's proposal not to fight was based on sense gratification. Forgetting his prime duty, he wanted to cease fighting because he thought that by not killing his relatives and kinsmen, he would be happier than by enjoying the kingdom after conquering his cousins and brothers, the sons of Dhritarashtra. In both ways, the basic principles were for sense gratification. Happiness derived from conquering them and happiness derived from seeing kinsmen alive are both on the basis of personal sense gratification, even at a sacrifice of wisdom and duty. Krishna therefore wanted to explain to Arjuna that by killing the body of his grandfather, he would not be killing the soul proper, and he explained that all individual persons, including the Lord himself, are eternal individuals. They were individuals in the past, they are individuals in the present, and they will continue to remain individuals in the future, because all of us are individual souls eternally. We simply change our bodily dress in different manners, but actually we keep our individuality even after liberation from the bondage of material dress. An analytical study of the soul and the body has been very graphically explained by Lord Krsna, and this descriptive knowledge of the soul and the body from different angles of vision has been described here as Sankhya in terms of the Nirukti dictionary. This Sankhya has nothing to do with Sankhya philosophy of the atheist Kapila. Long before the impostor Kapila's Sankhya, the Sankhya philosophy was expounded in the Srimad Bhagavatam by the true Lord Kapila, the incarnation of Lord Krsna, who explained it to his mother, Devahuti. It is clearly explained by him that the Purusha, or the Supreme Lord, is active, and that he creates by looking over the Prakriti. This is accepted in the Vedas and in the Gita. The description in the Vedas indicates that the Lord glanced over the Prakriti, or nature, and impregnated it with atomic individual souls. All these individuals are working in the material world for sense gratification, and under the spell of material energy, they are thinking of being enjoyers. This mentality is dragged to the last moment of liberation, when the living entity wants to become one with the Lord. This is the last snare of Maya, or sense gratificatory illusion, and it is only after many, many births of such sense gratificatory activities that a great soul surrenders unto Vasudeva, Lord Krsna, thereby fulfilling the search after the ultimate truth. Arjuna has already accepted Krishna as his spiritual master by surrendering himself unto him. Shishyaste ham shari mam tvam prapanam. Consequently, Krishna will now tell him about the working process in Buddha Yoga, or Karma Yoga, or in other words, the practice of devotional service only for the sense gratification of the Lord. This Buddha Yoga is clearly explained in chapter 10, verse 10, as being direct communion with the Lord, who is sitting as Paramatma in everyone's heart. But such communion does not take place without devotional service. One who is therefore situated in devotional or transcendental loving service to the Lord, or in other words, in Christian consciousness, attains to this stage of Buddha Yoga by the special grace of the Lord. The Lord says, therefore, that only to those who are always engaged in devotional service out of transcendental love does he award the pure knowledge of devotion in love. In that way, the devotee can reach him easily in the ever blissful kingdom of God. Thus, Buddha Yoga, mentioned in this verse, is the devotional service of the Lord, and the word Sankhya, mentioned herein, has nothing to do with the atheistic Sankhya Yoga enunciated by the impostor Kapila. One should not, therefore, misunderstand that the Sankhya Yoga mentioned herein has any connection with the atheistic Sankhya. Nor did that philosophy have any influence during that time. Nor would Lord Krsna care to mention such godless philosophical speculations. Real Sankhya philosophy is described by Lord Kapila in the Srimad Bhagavatam, but even that Sankhya has nothing to do with the current topics. Here, Sankhya means analytical description of the body and the soul. Lord Krsna made an analytical description of the soul just to bring Arjuna to the point of Buddha Yoga, or Bhakti Yoga. Therefore, Lord Krishna's Sankhya and Lord Kapila's Sankhya, as described in the Bhagavatam, are one and the same. They are all Bhakti Yoga. Lord Krsna said, therefore, that only the less intelligent class of men make a distinction between Sankhya Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. Sankhya Yogao Pritak Balaha Pravadanti Napanditaha. Of course, atheistic Sankhya Yoga has nothing to do with Bhakti Yoga, yet the unintelligent claim that the atheistic Sankhya Yoga is referred to in the Bhagavad-gita. One should therefore understand that Buddha Yoga means to work in Krishna consciousness, in the full bliss and knowledge of devotional service. One who works for the satisfaction of the Lord only, however difficult such work may be, is working under the principles of Buddha Yoga and finds himself always in transcendental bliss. By such transcendental engagement, one achieves all transcendental understanding automatically by the grace of the Lord, and thus his liberation is complete in itself, without his making extraneous endeavors to acquire knowledge. There is much difference between work in Krishna consciousness and work for fruitive results, especially in the matter of sense gratification, for achieving results in terms of family or material happiness. Buddhi Yoga is therefore the transcendental quality of the work that we perform. Text 40. Neha bhikramana pratyavayo navidyate swalpamap yasya dharmasya trayate mahato bayat. In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. Purport. Activity in Krishna consciousness, or acting for the benefit of Krishna without expectation of sense gratification, is the highest transcendental quality of work. Even a small beginning of such activity finds no impediment, nor can that small beginning be lost at any stage. Any work begun on the material plane has to be completed, otherwise the whole attempt becomes a failure. But any work begun in Krishna consciousness has a permanent effect, even though not finished. The performer of such work is therefore not at a loss, even if his work in Krishna consciousness is incomplete. 1% done in Krishna consciousness bears permanent results, so that the next beginning is from the point of 2%, whereas in material activity, without 100% success, there is no profit. Ajamila performed his duty in some percentage of Krishna consciousness, but the result he enjoyed at the end was 100% by the grace of the Lord. There's a nice verse in this connection in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.17. Chaktva swadharmam charanam bhujam harer bhajan apok tapatet tato yadi yatra kova badramabhud amushyakim kovarta apto bhajatam swadharmataha. If someone gives up his occupational duties and works in Krishna consciousness and then falls down on account of not completing his work, what loss is there on his part? And what can one gain if one performs his material activities perfectly? Or, as the Christians say, what profiteth a man if he gain the whole world, yet suffer the loss of his eternal soul? Material activities and their results end with the body, but work in Krishna consciousness carries a person again to Krishna consciousness, even after the loss of the body. At least one is sure to have a chance in the next life of being born again as a human being, either in the family of a great cultured brahmana, or in a rich aristocratic family that will give one a further chance for elevation. That is the unique quality of work done in Krishna consciousness. Text 41. Vyabhasayat mikha buddhir ekeha kurunandana bahusha kayanantascha buddhayo vyabhasayinam. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched. Purport. A strong faith that by Krishna consciousness one will be elevated to the highest perfection of life is called Vyabhasayatmika intelligence. The Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 2262 states, Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kahi Surida Nishchaya Krishna Bhakti Kaili Sarva Karma Krita Hoya. Faith means unflinching trust in something sublime. When one is engaged in the duties of Krishna consciousness, he need not act in relationship to the material world with obligations to family, traditions, humanity, or nationality. Fruitive activities are the engagements of one's reactions from past good or bad deeds. When one is awake in Krishna consciousness, he need no longer endeavor for good results in his activities. When one is situated in Krishna consciousness, all activities are on the absolute plane, for they are no longer subject to dualities like good and bad. The highest perfection of Krishna consciousness is renunciation of the material conception of life. This state is automatically achieved by progressive Krishna consciousness. The resolute purpose of a person in Krishna consciousness is based on knowledge. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabhaha. A person in Krishna consciousness is the rare good soul who knows perfectly that Vasudeva, or Krishna, is the root of all manifested causes. As by watering the root of a tree, one automatically distributes water to the leaves and branches, so by acting in Krishna consciousness, one can render the highest service to everyone, namely self, family, society, country, humanity, etc. If Krishna is satisfied by one's actions, then everyone will be satisfied. Service in Krishna consciousness is, however, best practiced under the able guidance of a spiritual master, who is a bona fide representative of Krishna, who knows the nature of the student, and who can guide him to act in Krishna consciousness. As such, to be well versed in Krishna consciousness, one has to act firmly and obey the representative of Krishna, and one should accept the instruction of the bona fide spiritual master as one's mission in life. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur instructs us in his famous prayers to the spiritual master, for the spiritual master, as follows: Yasya prasadad bhagavat prasado, yasya prasadan nagati katopi, jayan stubangs tasya yashastri sanyam, vande guru sri charanarvindam. By satisfaction of the spiritual master, the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes satisfied. And by not satisfying the spiritual master, there is no chance of being promoted to the plane of Krishna consciousness. I should therefore meditate and pray for his mercy 3 times a day, and offer my respectful obeisances unto him, my spiritual master. The whole process, however, depends on perfect knowledge of the soul beyond the conception of the body, not theoretically, but practically, when there is no longer a chance for sense gratification manifested in fruitive activities. One who is not firmly fixed in mind is diverted by various types of fruitive acts. Text 42 and 43. Yam imam pushpitam bacham pravadanta vipaschitaha veda vada ratak partha nanyat astiti vadinaha kamat manak swargapada janma karma palapradam kriya vishesha bahulam bhogashwarya gatim prati. Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, resultant good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification in opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this. Purport. People in general are not very intelligent, and due to their ignorance, they are most attached to the fruitive activities recommended in the Karmakanda portions of the Vedas. They do not want anything more than sense gratificatory proposals for enjoying life in heaven, where wine and women are available and material opulence is very common. In the Vedas, many sacrifices are recommended for elevation to the heavenly planets, especially the Jyotishtoma sacrifices. In fact, it is stated that anyone desiring elevation to heavenly planets must perform these sacrifices, and men with a poor fund of knowledge think that this is the whole purpose of Vedic wisdom. It is very difficult for such inexperienced persons to be situated in the determined action of Krishna consciousness, as fools are attached to the flowers of poisonous trees without knowing the results of such attractions. Unenlightened men are similarly attracted by such heavenly opulence and the sense enjoyment thereof. In the Karmakanda section of the Vedas, it is said, Apama, Somam, Amrita, Abhuma, and Akshayam, Havai, Chaturmasya Jagyaha, Sukritam Bhavati. In other words, those who perform the 4-month penances become eligible to drink the Somarasa beverages to become immortal and happy forever. Even on this earth, some are very eager to have Somarasa, to become strong and fit to enjoy sense gratifications. Such persons have no faith in liberation from material bondage, and they are very much attached to the pompous ceremonies of Vedic sacrifices. They are generally sensual, and they do not want anything other than the heavenly pleasures of life. It is understood that there are gardens called Nandanakanana, in which there's good opportunity for association with angelic, beautiful women, and having a profuse supply of Somarasa wine. Such bodily happiness is certainly sensual, and therefore there are those who are purely attached to such material, temporary happiness as lords of the material world. Text 44. Bhogaishvarya prasaktanam taya paridita chetasam vyabhasayatmika buddhi samado navadiyate. In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. Purport. Samadhi means fixed mind. The Vedic dictionary, the Nirukti, says, Samyag adiyate smin atmatattva yatatmyam. When the mind is fixed for understanding the self, it is said to be in samadhi. Samadhi is never possible for persons interested in material sense enjoyments and bewildered by such temporary things. They are more or less condemned by the process of material energy. Text 45. Trigunya Vishaya Veda Nishtrigunyo Bhavarjana Nirdvandvo Nityasatvasto Niryogakshema Atmavan. The Vedas deal mainly with the subject of the 3 modes of material nature. O Arjuna, become transcendental to these 3 modes. Be free from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self. Purport. All material activities involve actions and reactions in the 3 modes of material nature. They are meant for fruitive results, which cause bondage in the material world. The Vedas deal mostly with fruitive activities to gradually elevate the general public from the field of sense gratification to a position on the transcendental plane. Arjuna, as a student and friend of Lord Krsna, is advised to raise himself to the transcendental position of Vedanta philosophy, where, in the beginning, there is Brahma Jigyasa, or questions on the supreme transcendence. All the living entities who are in the material world are struggling very hard for existence. For them, the Lord, after creation of the material world, gave the Vedic wisdom advising how to live and get rid of the material entanglement. When the activities for sense gratification, namely the Karmakanda chapter, are finished, then the chance for spiritual realization is offered in the form of the Upanishads, which are part of different Vedas, as the Bhagavad-gita is a part of the 5th Veda, namely the Mahabharata. The Upanishads mark the beginning of transcendental life. As long as the material body exists, there are actions and reactions in the material modes. One has to learn tolerance in the face of dualities, such as happiness and distress, or cold and warmth, and by tolerating such dualities, become free from anxieties regarding gain and loss. This transcendental position is achieved in full Krishna consciousness when one is fully dependent on the good will of Krishna. Text 46. Yavan artha udapane sarvatak samplatodike tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijanataha. All purposes served by a small well can at once be served by a great reservoir of water. Similarly, all the purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them. Purport. The rituals and sacrifices mentioned in the Karmakanda division of the Vedic literature are meant to encourage gradual development of self-realization. And the purpose of self-realization is clearly stated in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad-gita. The purpose of studying the Vedas is to know Lord Krsna, the primeval cause of everything. So, self-realization means understanding Krishna and one's eternal relationship with Him. The relationship of the living entities with Krishna is also mentioned in the 15th chapter of the Gita. The living entities are parts and parcels of Krishna. Therefore, revival of Krishna consciousness by the individual living entity is the highest perfectional stage of Vedic knowledge. This is confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam 3.33.7 as follows: Aho bhatta shapacho togariyan yaj jivagre vartate namatubhyam tipustapaste juhuvu sasnur arya brahmanu chur namagrinantiyete. O my Lord, a person who is chanting your holy name, although born of a low family like that of a Chandala, dog-eater, is situated on the highest platform of self-realization. Such a person must have performed all kinds of penances and sacrifices according to Vedic rituals and studied the Vedic literatures many, many times after taking his bath in all the holy places of pilgrimage. Such a person is considered to be the best of the Aryan family. So one must be intelligent enough to understand the purpose of the Vedas without being attached to the rituals only, and must not desire to be elevated to the heavenly kingdoms for a better quality of sense gratification. It is not possible for the common man in this age to follow all the rules and regulations of the Vedic rituals, nor is it possible to study all of the Vedanta and the Upanishads thoroughly. It requires much time, energy, knowledge, and resources to execute the purposes of the Vedas. This is hardly possible in this age. The best purpose of Vedic culture is served, however, by chanting the holy name of the Lord, as recommended by Lord Chaitanya, the deliverer of all fallen souls. When Lord Chaitanya was asked by a great Vedic scholar, Prakashananda Saraswati, why he, the Lord, was chanting the holy name of the Lord like a sentimentalist, instead of studying Vedanta philosophy, the Lord replied that his spiritual master had found him to be a great fool, and thus asked him to chant the holy name of the Lord Krishna. He did so, and became ecstatic like a madman. In this age of Kali, most of the population is foolish and not adequately educated to understand Vedanta philosophy. The best purpose of Vedanta philosophy is served by inoffensively chanting the holy name of the Lord. Vedanta is the last word in Vedic wisdom, and the author and knower of the Vedanta philosophy is Lord Krsna. And the highest Vedantist is the great soul who takes pleasure in chanting the holy name of the Lord. That is the ultimate purpose of all Vedic mysticism. Text 47. Karmanye vadikaraste ma paleshu kadachana ma karma pilahe turbur ma te sangosta karmani. You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty. Purport. There are three considerations here. prescribed duties, capricious work, and inaction. Prescribed duties are activities enjoyed in terms of one's acquired modes of material nature. Capricious work means actions without the sanction of authority, and inaction means not performing one's prescribed duties. The Lord advised that Arjuna not be inactive, but that he perform his prescribed duty without being attached to the result. One who is attached to the result of his work is also the cause of the action. Thus he is the enjoyer or sufferer of the result of such actions. As far as prescribed duties are concerned, they can be fitted into three subdivisions, namely routine work, emergency work, and desired activities. Routine work performed as an obligation in terms of the scriptural injunctions, without desire for results, is action in the mode of goodness. Work with results becomes the cause of bondage. Therefore, such work is not auspicious. Everyone has his proprietary right in regard to prescribed duties, but should act without attachment to the result. Such disinterested, obligatory duties doubtlessly lead one to the path of liberation. Arjuna was therefore advised by the Lord to fight as a matter of duty, without attachment to the result. His non-participation in the battle is another side of attachment. Such attachment never leads one to the path of salvation. Any attachment, positive or negative, is cause for bondage. Inaction is sinful. Therefore, fighting as a matter of duty was the only auspicious path of salvation for Arjuna. Text 48. Yogasta kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhi siddhyo samubhutva samatvam yoga uchite. Perform your duty equipoised, O Arjuna, abandoning all attachment to success or failure. Such equanimity is called yoga. Purport. Krishna tells Arjuna that he should act in yoga. And what is that yoga? Yoga means to concentrate the mind on the Supreme by controlling the ever-disturbing senses. And who is the Supreme? The Supreme is the Lord. And because he himself is telling Arjuna to fight, Arjuna has nothing to do with the results of the fight. Gain or victory are Krishna's concern. Arjuna is simply advised to act according to the dictation of Krishna. The following of Krishna's dictation is real yoga, and this is practiced in the first process called Krishna consciousness. By Krishna consciousness only can one give up the sense of proprietorship. One has to become the servant of Krishna, or the servant of Krishna. That is the right way to discharge duty in Krishna consciousness, which alone can help one to act in yoga. Arjuna is a Kshatriya, and as such, he is participating in the Varnashrama Dharma institution. It is said in the Vishnu Purana that in the Varnashrama Dharma, the whole aim is to satisfy Vishnu. No one should satisfy himself, as is the rule in the material world, but one should satisfy Krishna. So unless one satisfies Krishna, one cannot correctly observe the principles of Varnashram Dharma. Indirectly, Arjuna was advised to act as Krishna told him. Text 49. Durina yavadam karma buriyoga dhananjaya buddhau sharanaman bichcha kripanat palahetavaha. O Dhananjaya, keep all abominable activities far distant by devotional service, and in that consciousness surrender unto the Lord. Those who want to enjoy the fruits of their work are misers. Purport. One who has actually come to understand one's constitutional position as the eternal servitor of the Lord gives up all engagements save working in Krishna consciousness. As already explained, Buddhi Yoga means transcendental loving service to the Lord. Such devotional service is the right course of action for the living entity. Only misers desire to enjoy the fruit of their work, just to be further entangled in material bondage. Except for work in Krishna consciousness, all activities are abominable because they continually bind the worker to the cycle of birth and death. One should therefore never desire to be the cause of work. Everything should be done in Krishna consciousness for the satisfaction of Krishna. Misers do not know how to utilize the assets of riches which they acquire by good fortune or by hard labor. One should spend all energies working in Krishna consciousness, and that will make one's life successful. Like misers, unfortunate persons do not employ their human energy in the service of the Lord. Text 50. Buddhi yukto chahati ha ube sukritu duskrite tasmat yogaya yujaswa yoga karmasu kaushalam. A man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad reactions even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, which is the art of all work. Purport. Since time immemorial, each living entity has accumulated the various reactions of his good and bad work. As such, he is continuously ignorant of his real constitutional position. One's ignorance can be removed by the instruction of the Bhagavad-gita, which teaches one to surrender unto Lord Sri Krishna in all respects and become liberated from the chained victimization of action and reaction, birth after birth. Arjuna is therefore advised to act in Krishna consciousness, the purifying process of resultant action. Text 51. Karmajam buddhi yukta hi palam tyaktva manishinaha janma bandhamidir bhukta padam kachantanamayam. By thus engaging in the devotional service of the Lord, by thus engaging in devotional service to the Lord, great sages or devotees free themselves from the results of work in the material world. In this way, they become free from the cycle of birth and death and attain the state beyond all miseries by going back to Godhead. Purport. The liberated living entities belong to that place where there are no material miseries. The Bhagavatam 10:14-58 says, Samashita ye padapalavaplavam mahatpadam punya yasho mararehe bhavambudir vatsapadam padam 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 yad vipadam natesham. For one who has accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the cosmic manifestation and is famous as Mukunda, or the giver of mukti, the ocean of the material world is like the water contained in a calf's footprint. Padam padam, or the place where there are no material miseries, or Vaikuntha, is his goal, not the place where there is danger in every step of life. Owing to ignorance, one does not know that this material world is a miserable place where there are dangers at every step. Out of ignorance only, less intelligent persons try to adjust to the situation by fruitive activities, thinking that the resultant actions will make them happy. They do not know that no kind of material body anywhere within the universe can give life without miseries. The miseries of life, namely birth, death, old age, and diseases, are present everywhere within the material world. But one who understands his real constitutional position as the eternal servitor of the Lord, and thus knows the position of the personality of Godhead, engages himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Consequently, he becomes qualified to enter into the Vaikuntha planets, where there is neither material, miserable life, nor the influence of time, and death. To know one's constitutional position means to know also the sublime position of the Lord. One who wrongly thinks that the living entity's position and the Lord's position are on the same level is to be understood to be in darkness, and therefore unable to engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord. He becomes a Lord himself, and thus paves the way for the repetition of birth and death. But one who, understanding that his position is to serve, transfers himself to the service of the Lord, at once becomes eligible for Vaikuntha Loka. Service for the cause of the Lord is called Karma Yoga, or Buddhi Yoga, or in plain words, devotional service to the Lord. Text 52. Yada te moha kalilam buddhir vyatitirishyati tadagantas niridam shrotavyasya shrutasya cha. When your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. Purport. There are many good examples of in the lives of great devotees of the Lord who become indifferent to the rituals of the Vedas simply by devotional service to the Lord. When a person factually understands Krishna and his relationship with Krishna, he naturally becomes completely indifferent to the rituals of fruitive activities, even though an experienced brahmana. Sri Madhavendra Puri, a great devotee and acharya in the line of the devotees, says, O my prayers, 3 times a day, all glory to you. O bathing, I offer my obeisances unto you. O demigods, O forefathers, please excuse me for my inability to offer you my respects. Please, now wherever I sit, I can remember the great descendant of the Yadu dynasty, Krishna, the enemy of Kamsa, and thereby I can free myself from all sinful bondage. I think this is sufficient for me. The Vedic rites and rituals are imperative for neophytes, comprehending all kinds of prayer 3 times a day, taking a bath early in the morning, offering respects to the forefathers, and so on. But when one is fully in Krishna consciousness and is engaged in his transcendental loving service, one becomes indifferent to all these regulative principles because he has already attained perfection. If one can reach the platform of understanding by service to the Supreme Lord Krishna, he has no longer to execute different types of penances and sacrifices as recommended in revealed scriptures. And similarly, if one has not understood that the purpose of the Vedas is to reach Krishna and simply engages in the rituals and so on, then he is uselessly wasting time in such engagements. Persons in Krishna consciousness transcend the limit of Shabda Brahma, or the range of the Vedas and Upanishads. And our last verse, text 53. Shruti vipratipanate yadastas yati nishchala samadhau achala buddhis tada yogamavapshasi. When your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, and when it remains fixed in the trance of self-realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness. Purport. To say that one is in samadhi is to say that one has fully realized Krishna consciousness. That is, one in full samadhi has realized Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. The highest perfection of self-realization is to understand that one is eternally the servitor of Krishna, and that one's only business is to discharge one's duties in Krishna consciousness. A Krishna conscious person, or unflinching devotee of the Lord, should not be disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, nor be engaged in fruitive activities for promotion to heavenly kingdom. In Krishna consciousness, one comes directly into communion with Krishna, and thus all directions from Krishna may be understood in that transcendental state. One is sure to achieve results by such activities and attain conclusive knowledge. One has only to carry out the orders of Krishna or his representative, the spiritual master. Hare Krishna. So we'll stop the reading there, and we're stopping at a good place, because now Arjuna's going to ask Krishna directly, what does a person appear like who's in that position? How does he walk? How does he talk? What does he do? And we're going to hear about that tomorrow. Hare Krishna. So, any reflections? Things that stuck out in your mind during the reading? Yes.
I have a few questions.
Hannah, Savannah.
I have a few questions. What's the 4-month penances?
4 monthly penances. Well, in the calendar during the year, there are 4 months in India, particularly, that are the rainy season. And during that rainy season, saintly persons who normally travel different places of pilgrimage and spread spiritual life and Krishna consciousness, they sit down in one place. They didn't have jet airplanes in those days when they made up this rule. You know, they went wherever they went, they walked. Yeah. So it was hard in India in those days. They didn't have pavement. And when the rainy season comes, and if you're in India, if you've ever been in India, sometimes the rainy season can be very intense. You've been in Bombay, in rainy season, sometimes there's so much water coming down that you can't see across the street. You can't see in front of you this far. So over those times, there's 4 months called the Chaturmasya, and during those months, for persons who are very strict in following rules and regulations of the Vedas, there are different rules and regulations to follow. That's what it means by the 4-month regulations.
Okay, so prayer 3 times a day?
Well, when a person is initiated into the Hare Krishna mantra and then has become adept or comfortable or adept at chanting, and it becomes fixed in spiritual life, then she takes second initiation, called the Gayatri mantras. We have 7 Gayatri mantras that we chant. And when do we chant them? When the sun comes up, when the sun's overhead, and when the sun's going down. And in those prayers, we recommit ourselves and try to go closer to Krishna and the spiritual master, Lord Chaitanya, and the spiritual world. So those are the prayers 3 times a day that Vaishnavas pray.
Okay, last one. Who's Kamsa?
Who's Kamsa? Kamsa is a person. You see, when this book was spoken, there was a situation that was organized by Krishna, because Krishna was there personally, and he was organizing this whole thing. He promised the great leaders of the universe, Lord Brahma especially, and the demigods, he promised to come to the earth and clean the house. You know, every once in a while you have a house, spring house cleaning. You clean out take everything out and, dust around all the corners and make it squeaky clean, So there's 2 kinds of persons in the world, actually. They're called Deva, or demigods, or saintly persons, or devotees of God, and there are persons who are averse to the existence of God and to the service of God. They're called asuras, or demons, demoniac persons. Their thing, what makes them happy, is to turn the standard order of things upside down. They like, breaking the laws and making other people feel in anxiety. Sometimes you may wonder, well, how can these people do these things that are going on nowadays? These terrorists are going and blowing up innocent people and so many things like this, because their minds have been perverted by this demoniac mentality. So, in the higher planets and the lower planets, there are very powerful demigods and demons. And at that time, when Krishna came and agreed to accept the duty given to him by the demigods to clean the house, and eliminate the demoniac elements of the earth so that the atmosphere could become peaceful and conducive to devotional service to Krishna, the demigods and the demons came onto the earth and took birth in special places, special bodies, in order to duke it out, so to speak. That's a colloquial expression, American colloquial expression. Duke it out means they came to fight. They usually fight in the heavenly planets or in the lower planets, but sometimes they fight on the earth, and this gave them a wonderful opportunity. So Kamsa was one of the main ones, and he was in the Leela of Krishna, in the play of Krishna. He was the one who wanted to kill Krishna. Yep.
That's a useless battle, huh?
Say that again?
I said that's a useless battle, huh?
Yeah, it sure was.
It didn't work.
Yeah, it didn't work out. Didn't work out too well for him, actually, or neither for any of them. And so, what Krishna did was he's got them all together in one place, the Battle of Kurukshetra, and then he just orchestrated the whole thing, and he cleaned the house without having to go all over the world and didn't deal with each individual demon individually. He just brought them all together and dealt with them.
Thank you.
My pleasure. The pleasure is all mine, believe me.
I know.
Hare Krishna. There's nothing quite like preaching Krishna consciousness and hearing about Krishna with the devotees. There's nothing like it. It's like, it just puts us into a special space, transcendental space. Our hearts become satisfied. Yeah?
An online question.
An online question.
From Jai Shri Devyasi.
From Jai Shri in Hong Kong. Everybody knows Jai Shri. We're going to see you pretty soon over here. Everybody's raising their hands in ecstasy. Yay! Go ahead.
In purport of text 31, there are two types of dharma: duty to the material body and the spiritual duty. What should one do if there are conflicts between the two?
That requires a little spiritual intelligence. There are always ways that you can do both duties, but you have to be very intelligent and you have to be advanced in Krishna consciousness. Krishna is in your heart, and he's the source of spiritual intelligence. So if you pray to Krishna very deeply and very sincerely and without any material motive, no ulterior motive, if you pray to Krishna, please allow me to do my material duties in such a way that my material relationships will be okay, if not perfect. They can never be perfect in this material world, no matter how great a person you become, no matter how wonderful your relationships are. There's always problems in this material world. So pray to Krishna and perform your spiritual duties, and your spiritual master, I happen to be your spiritual master, so she's getting a direct instruction here, even in public. So your spiritual master will never ask you to do anything that will disrupt your material duties to the point where you become disturbed in mind and can't do either. And in the meantime, practice makes perfect. Be patient. Continue to hear, continue to chant, continue to try to do your spiritual and your material duties nicely, and eventually it will come out successful. Because at the end of the day, when you take that last breath, the ones that are most important are the spiritual instructions. Because the material persons and the material relationships and all those things, social obligations and all these things, they will be taken away from you. The only thing that you can take with you is the instructions from Krishna and your spiritual master. So of the two, the orders of the spiritual master and of Krishna are most important. But they don't say, and they never say, that you have to physically give up your duties in the material world in order to attain that perfection. So there's more to it than that. We'll talk about it even more later. Hare Krishna. Did she say okay? What did she say to that?
She has no response.
Huh?
There's no response.
She's taking it in.
Sometimes that takes days.
Spoken like a wise person, Hannah.
No. Yes.
It's coming?
She said yes.
Okay, good. Hare Krishna. Look, I overdid my quota. I'm supposed to stop at 7:45, but I went to 8 o'clock. I can't stop. This is too much nice. It's too much nice. I can't stop. Hare Krishna. All glories to the Bhagavad-gita. All glories to this sacrifice that we have embarked in for the rest of my life, every day, to do this, every evening, live stream, and in front of whoever wants to come and hear Srila Prabhupada's books, the Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, cover to cover, from now until I leave this body. And hopefully someone will take it up among those who are hearing and continuing after that. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Bhagavad-gita ki jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glories to all the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.